Hello, my name is Renita, and this is my story. So I would say what brought me to freedom groups was essentially my life fell apart 5 years ago, and I didn't know what to do. So during that time, I got a lot of healing through different places, but something was still missing. Annette, I believe, told me that freedom groups were starting, and the one that she was starting, she thought that it would be good for me to go. And I knew that I needed something else. I knew that there was a piece missing. Walking into the group was very nerve-wracking for me. I had a really good group of friends that already knew my story, and I was comfortable with them, and I was walking into a whole new group of people that I knew, but they didn't know my story. And yeah, I was really nervous because I just didn't know. It's hard for me to be vulnerable. I had a lot of pain, and being vulnerable does not come easy for me. And honestly, I was a little bit afraid of just kind of throwing myself out there for judgment. I was kind of on the fence about it. I didn't commit, and they had their first group, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll go in there, not really intending to stay. I really had no intentions to follow through with it. But after the first meeting, as I started listening to people and their stories, I wanted to cry through the whole thing, and I knew that that was what I needed to do. So how I felt about the group, some of them I knew better than others. And honestly, it really did take a little while for me to just relax and let myself be me. It just, I think the biggest thing was confidentiality is really stressed in these types of groups. And the longer we went, and the more that I didn't really hear anything in the surrounding community or church or whatever, the more I realized that these people did know how to be confidential. And that then enabled me to be open and share my story too. And then as one person shares, it just kind of triggers a chain effect. And when you start listening to other people, you realize that we're really all the same. We all have the same pain, and it just makes it easier to share with one another because you feel safe. I went in really not knowing what to expect, and it is a lot of hard work. I'm going to tell you, it's hard work. You want to really throw the book pretty much out the door almost every single week. But if you can stick with it, the changes that it brings are just peace and healing and really freedom as you start unpacking what it is that has brought you to this point. And a lot of it is just pain and wounds that we've received as children that were unintentional a lot of times. And when you start going through all of that, you start realizing how much it affected you. And as you can start addressing those, working through those, you start to come at peace with them, and they don't really have power over you anymore once you start speaking it out. Every single one of us have a love addiction that has stemmed from wounds that we have experienced in our past. And out of that love addiction, we turn to all sorts of things to feel love, to find acceptance through everybody. Everybody experiences trauma in 3 different ways. We either go into flight mode, freeze mode, or flight mode. I personally chose freeze mode. And what it did was it shut down my emotions from that point on. I couldn't give love, I couldn't receive love, I didn't know how to extend love to anybody. I actually chose to control my whole environment because it felt safe to me. So I've learned in knowing all of that where the breakdown in relationships come from. And I've learned that it doesn't make me a bad person. It just makes me a wounded person. And now I can go forward and healing and freedom, because I now understand where this comes from. I've encouraged so many people that they need to come and do it for themselves, because it's a personal journey and we all have wounds. And I know how I have gained freedom, and I just want that for everybody.